Find out all about Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando. This is episode 37 of the Go Inform podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is episode 37, and today we are talking about Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando. I am your hostess, Maven, and I welcome you to the show. Thanks for joining me. Today's episode is extra special because I brought a guest onto the show to share her expertise about Halloween Horror Nights. I think you guys are going to love her, and I can't wait to share the conversation with you here in just a minute. Halloween Horror Nights is a really big deal in Orlando in the fall, and I have never been to Orlando in the fall, you guys, so I have never been to Halloween Horror Nights. But don't worry, because our guest, she has been there, and you will find out. She really knows her stuff. So that is awesome. I'm really excited to share it with you. I took a bunch of notes while we were talking, and I put them in the show notes. So today you can find all my notes about this episode at the website at goinform.net/37. So just sit back and relax so you can always refer to those notes later online. Our guest today is Michelle Russell. She is a hardcore Halloween Horror Nights fan, and you'll find out a lot more about what I mean by that as we get into the conversation. But I am super excited to have found somebody who is such an expert to share everything she knows about Halloween Horror Nights with you guys, so you can decide if it's something you want to do when you visit Orlando and find out more about how it works. She's got some awesome tips, really pro tips to help you navigate through this really popular event that happens every fall at Universal Orlando. Now, one thing I need to say right up front, you guys, Halloween Horror Nights is scary. So this is not for little kids, and it may not even be for you big kids who are listening to this right now. So if you are sensitive to horror movies, if you don't like the ads on TV for horror movies, this episode may not be for you. So just fair warning, Michelle is an awesome storyteller, and her descriptions of the haunted houses it's great. And I think it's great fun, but it can be sort of graphic sometimes. So just fair warning, you may need to skip this episode if Horror Nights does not sound good to you. This one might not be for you. But you guys who are really into this stuff, or maybe just casually into it and want to find out more, please stay tuned. I think you're going to really enjoy this conversation. I did actually edit out a few parts of our conversation because I thought they were a little too gory for our regular audience here. And I took those pieces of the conversation and I stitched them together into a little bonus deleted scenes episode. So if you want to hear those extra stories that Michelle shared with me, I put them together and I put them on the Patreon page for our Go Inform pass holders. So you can go over to patreon.com/goinformed. And for anybody who joins at the pass holder level of $5 or more, you guys have access to that deleted scene bonus episode. And of course, big thank you to you pass holders who are supporting the show through the Patreon site. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for being part of this journey. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off the conversation here with Michelle Russell. I think you guys are going to love her. She is an awesome storyteller. She's got so much to share, and we just had a ton of fun. It was a great conversation. Here's my Halloween Horror Nights conversation with Michelle Russell. So today on the show, we have a very special guest, our first guest ever, and it is Michelle Russell. She is a new friend of mine. I am super excited to talk to her about Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando because she is a hardcore expert. And
hardcore.
So, yeah,
hardcore Halloween night.
We are in the right place to get some real information about what Halloween Horror Nights is like at Universal Orlando. Thank you for joining me today, Michelle. It's so great to have you here.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. And everything techie is working. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're laughing because we have just spent a lot of time making this work. And because this is such a cool topic, we really want to bring it to you guys. So thank you for bearing with me, Michelle. And
thank you for bearing with me. I'm in a hotel room, basically. Not really a hotel room. I'm in one of my rental properties, but we're here in Orlando experiencing what we do best, and that is Halloween Horror Nights. We spend the entire month here, the first month of Halloween Horror Nights, just doing nothing but Halloween Horror Nights. That is what we do. So you found the right fan, let's just say.
Well, it's so amazing. Okay, Michelle, tell us a little bit about how you are able to take a whole month and just do Halloween Horror Nights.
You know, some people have like Beanie Babies that they collected or they have a vice. My vice has always been, I've always loved movies and I've always loved horror movies, the genre. But about 25 years ago, someone got me into going into Knott's Berry Farm, which was the first theme park that ever did a Halloween theme. And so we went there. We would go there at Halloween to their, it used to just be like, but now it's not Scary Farm, but it used to be the Haunt. And we used to go there all the time. And then somebody said, you've got to go to Hollywood, over to Universal Hollywood and go there. And so we did that. And the difference was night and day. I mean, obviously the Haunt had been doing it a long time, but their haunted houses were kind of, like a mom and pop kind of thing. There were just walls that were up and there wasn't a lot into them. But when we went over to Universal Hollywood, like the first haunted house I ever went to in Universal was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh my gosh.
And I had seen this movie, right? So you walk into this horror scene and it was like walking into the house of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, everything looked exactly like it did in the movie. And even the characters, they call them characters instead of regular actors, but they had hired people who looked like the people in the movie, and it was the freakiest thing. And then as you're going, like you would go through like a bathroom and it would smell like a bathroom, and you would go through an area where somebody supposedly vomited and it would smell like vomit. And I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. I have to do this every year. And then I did it for a few years there. And then somebody said, oh, have you ever been to the one in Orlando? And I was like, what, Universal Orlando? And they go, yeah, you got to go there. They have more haunted houses because it's bigger. And I was like, more haunted houses? And that was it. I was hooked. So for more than 10 years, we've been coming down here. And then literally I just started, I took my business and I said, okay, I'm taking off the entire month. They start in September. They used to start at the end of September. Now it's mid-September.
Okay.
And I just they have something called a frequent fear pass. And you can buy a pass that allows you to go every single night that they're open. And you can even get an express extension on that so that you get front of the line.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's not the same front of the line as they have in the Hollywood park, but it's still express. It's still faster than waiting in a 3-hour line. So
yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, I'll ask you a little bit about that later because that sounds like a good tip.
You have to do that. Like if you go, especially this year, because this year they every year what they do is they have like 10 different houses, and sometimes more, sometimes less. And this year there are 10 houses, and some of the houses are original houses, which is a theme or something that they picked and they made up, and they took and, did a haunted house. Just like last year, they had a really cool bayou one. So you walked in and it was like walking into a sunken, what are those paddle boats? Like in Louisiana, and it was like all swampy looking, and it was super cool. It was like my favorite maze last year because there was so much to look at. And this year they've got quite a few really amazing original houses. And then some of the houses they actually get a license to do, and they take the theme from a movie or a television show. So like last year they had The Shining. They got
wow.
Yeah, so you had the twins come and play with us forever and ever. And so they did that. But this year they got Stranger Things.
Oh, wow.
Have you now, do you know what Stranger Things is? It's that Netflix show.
Yeah.
And it's completely like totally it is off the rails right now at Universal Studios. This is the first time in 10 years. I'm telling you, usually you go on opening night and there's quite a few of us who are crazy people who love to do this, and we're out there. And when I say quite a few, there's probably thousands and thousands who come every day, right? But this year on opening night, it was nuts. And you knew when you were just driving into the park, you're like, oh my gosh, the traffic was incredible. And we were like, something is different. And this year, whatever it's, and the only difference really is Stranger Things. And that show is so viral that it just pulled people out of the woodwork. It was so incredible. It was so busy. We were looking at each other going, holy cow, have you ever in your life seen Universal this busy? And it was like, but Sunday night was great because most people have to be to school on Monday morning or, or to work on Monday morning, but not me because I take the whole month off.
Yeah, that is okay. Wait, I don't know. I can't remember. Did you say what you do for a living that you can take a whole month off?
Well, I've worked for some crazy people in my life. I've began investing years and years ago. So I worked for a company called Rich Dad Seminars, and that is a man who wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh,
So I got to work with Robert for a long time and learned how to invest in real estate. And now I do a lot of short-term rentals, and I have a podcast about that. And I teach other people how to do it. But my short-term rentals basically, pay the rent, pay the bills, and then some. And so I'm able to do that. I'm able to take, an entire month off and do what I love doing. And I don't think I love anything more than Halloween.
That is so awesome.
It is my favorite thing in the world. Honestly, I just love coming down. I do Disney too, because we have, passes at both parks, and I love, Disney's Not So Scary. I took my granddaughter to that, but it's really not so scary. So,
Right. Yeah, obviously you like scary.
I do like scary. And this year, it's pretty scary. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good stuff in there.
Awesome. Okay, so let's back up a little bit and start start with sort of some basics. So, so Halloween Horror Nights is, you said it starts in mid-September and then it goes through Halloween. Is that right?
Now they're extending it to the first weekend in November.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And is it every night or just some nights?
Just some nights. This year they've added quite a few nights. So like tonight, it's, Wednesday, right? Mm-hmm. Tonight, there's a Halloween Horror Nights tonight. So we're going tonight. But usually the first weekend is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The next weekend will be also Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then they'll start adding in a Thursday. And then later on in October, they'll add a Wednesday to that.
Okay.
And kind of extend it out. But this year, they decided, okay, we're going to start on the 14th of September. And then we're also going to start on the next Wednesday, because I think they must have known that the Stranger Things was going to be big, because they've added a ton of nights. So it'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. And
wow.
I mean,
so that's a lot of opportunities for people who are just in town for, some of the days, or might have one free night or whatever. If they're running it most of the nights, then they can go.
Yeah. And you've got to go. It's always better to go during the week when there is, a school day or a work day after that, because the lines are a lot shorter than on a Friday or Saturday night. Friday and Saturday nights are always busier. The lines are always longer. And when anybody goes, I always recommend that you pay that extra money just to get the express, because you'll be standing in a line for 2 hours and 3 hours. I mean,
oh, really? Wow.
The first night we were looking at it was funny because they have these times in front of every maze that tell you what the wait time is. And they had one in front of Stranger Things, and we're walking by and we're like, oh my gosh, the wait time is only 20 minutes. And as we kind of moved, then you saw, no, it's 120 minutes. And you're like,
oh, that's the worst.
We're like, oh no. Dang.
Oh.
Like, ouch. Okay.
Oh my God. Okay. So they have all these, like haunted houses. Are they like structures that they build in? Okay. Wait. First of all, we're only talking about Universal Studios theme park, right? They don't have any of this in Islands of Adventure.
No, in years past they used to. They've actually done both parks, but it's always only in one park. And now, for the last several years, it's only been in the Universal Studios side, so not Island of Adventure side.
Okay, so then they set up specific structures for these haunted houses, or do they put overlays on the attractions that are already there, or where will you find these?
You'll find them in a couple of different places. It is a studio, so Universal Studios has sound stages. So they're big buildings, and a few of the mazes will be inside the sound stages.
Okay.
And those ones, they can do a lot more with the soundstage ones, because like one year they had this maze called A Winter's Tale or A Winter's Night, and you walked in and they had a snow machine going, and it was super cold and it looked like it was snowing on this, like this castle kind of overlay into a cemetery that was just amazing. Like just looking at it was like, ooh, this is awesome. And the snow coming down. They did Ashes when they did Silent Hill one time, and they can do a lot more when they're in a soundstage, because they're really tall and it's probably like a movie set.
Yeah.
But then they also set up these really big tents.
Oh, okay.
All over the place. And the tents, they make an entire maze for them too. And they're in the back. The lines will go under, some of the roller coasters and things like that, but they don't shut any of the rides down to do it, except for Shrek. They do take one of the Shrek studios and they make a maze inside one half of the Shrek ride.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you go to the, HHN, for you guys that really need to be in the know.
Yeah.
When you go to the Halloween Horror Nights, do you ever go on any other rides? Are there people just going there for the mazes?
Pretty much people go for the mazes, but if they don't get to go to the parks very often, they'll use that time to go on some of the rides. They don't open up all of the rides, but they do open up the really good rides. So obviously they don't recommend children under 12 going, but a lot of times I've seen people with infants, like little, I'm not even kidding, like little tiny babies. You're like, wow. You're going to be paying for a lot of therapy later on. I'm like, but hey, whatever you want, right? But well, and also too, because you've got to remember a lot of people are coming from other countries to visit Disney and Universal. And so they don't quite understand how scary can be. And so they'll be bringing younger kids in, but they don't recommend it. And I think they should really have it in every language. But there are some kids who just don't care. I mean, there are some kids who, like our youngest, he's been going since he was 6, but he had 4 older siblings.
Okay.
You know, like
right.
you gotta come with us. You gotta come with us. And you would be too scared, you know, kind of teasing
no.
him. And then I think when he was 5, you know, we had the sitter for him and he just made her life miserable because he wanted to go. And so the next year we're like, are you sure you want to do this? And I'm looking at my husband going, one of us is prepared to leave, you know, like, okay, who's going to leave when he's too scared? He wasn't too scared. And our oldest son, he actually makes movies now.
Wow, that is so cool. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, this like has influenced my children, and I know how scarred those poor kids are. Right? But they used to make haunted houses. I mean, even to last year, we make a haunted house at our house for the neighbors, and we have hundreds of people come through.
Wow.
Because, I mean, that's what our kids love. They love Halloween. They kind of got that from us. So,
yeah, that is really cool. Okay, so when you've been talking about you going, you know, you say we go, you're talking about your whole family.
Yeah, I take everybody with, and everybody's coming out. I've got my 2 youngest here right now, but well, now my kids are older, you know, because we've been doing this for a long time. So, so our youngest is turning 18 October 1st, and the other kids are coming out. My son is working on a movie in Tucson right now, and he gets done on the 22nd. And as soon as he's done, he's flying out, you know, with his girlfriend. And then we've got my daughter and her boyfriend are flying out. So because we do so many properties, we have properties we can put everybody up at, and we literally do it as a family to just get a big group of us going.
Oh, so, that is so amazing.
It's
cool.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, honestly, you know, people go, well, why do you do this? And you're like, there is absolutely nothing more fun than getting scared with the people you love.
I know, because it sounds really scary. Like, I'm sure people ask you all the time, like, what is it about that makes you want to do it every single night for a month?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of like, why do people like going on roller coasters? I don't get why people like climbing mountains and going, you know, well, there's not enough oxygen up there. I think that's just crazy, because I'm like, why do you not want to breathe? Like,
right.
I mean, that kind of thrill seeking to me is like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll jump out of a plane for the thrill of it, but I know a parachute's going to work or something. But I'm like, I'm not going to put my life in danger. But when you go on a roller coaster, you just get that thrill, right? When
yeah,
you go
exactly.
through these haunted houses, it's like that.
Okay.
It's just like that. You get that. Like for that moment, even though you know it's not real, Universal is so good at just throwing you into the smells and the sights and like you are immersed in this scariness and you're just like, ooh, this is awesome. It's so cool.
Oh, that is so awesome. Do people dress up for this event, or are there rules about that?
Yeah, there's rules. You can't wear any makeup or mask or costumes. It's not like Disney. Now, if you love to dress up, then you want to go over to the Disney parks, because Disney does their Mickey's Not So Scary, and there are so many people who dress up in costumes there, and it's super, super fun if you want to just do costumes.
Okay.
But this one, they're not allowed, and they're actually really, really heavily secured. But when you come into the City Walk, and you know, if you've ever been, you know, in order to get to the amusement parks, you have to park in their parking lot, go through City Walk. But before you go through, they have a massive, massive area where they put your bags through security, just like if you're at an airport and you go through metal detectors. I mean, they're really, really, and I think every single night you'll see if people get too drunk, too rowdy, too crude or something, they escort people out all the time. You'll see security, and they have police officers there too. I don't know if they're off-duty police officers, but you'll see the Orlando Police Department is there all the time. There's security people. I mean, it's heavily secured because people can get a little rowdy.
Yeah, but, I can see that. Well, yeah. So, okay.
And there is alcohol too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then you have a lot of locals, right, that are coming for the week, for Saturday night or whatever. And
exactly.
Yeah. So is it, what kind of hours? I mean, when does it start in the evening, and then does it go like really, really late, or what are the hours like?
What they do is they have the park run like pretty normal hours. And so the park will close at 6. And now they've got the train that runs back and forth between, the Hogwarts Express. So they'll shut that train down too. And, even though Islands of Adventure will keep going, and their hours are usually till 8 or 9 or something, but they shut the main park down at 6, and then get everybody out of it. They, who doesn't belong there. They have holding areas for people who have the nighttime passes, and they'll put bracelets on them and hold them in a certain area, and then they reopen at 6:30 or. Last year it used to be a little bit later, but this year they've been opening at 6:30, and once they do, then it just, the whole feel of the park is different. And as it gets dark, then the fog machines come on. They have what they call scare zones. So the areas that you walk, they have a different theme in each one. So like Chucky's in one area. And so there's, gosh. It's so fun. I mean, just everywhere you walk, there are different themes, and then there are the houses that, obviously that you're getting to, but they have people running around with chainsaws over by like chasing people screaming everywhere. Like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
It is. You've got to come down with me because honestly, you'll have so much fun. You'll be like, oh my gosh. Once you do it, it is like an adrenaline rush. You're just like, oh, I love this, it's a thrill.
Yeah, I would think like the first time might be almost the worst because you don't even know what to expect at all. And then once you've been there, maybe it would have a little less of that edge to it.
Yeah. It does get to, like, everybody goes, well, do you still get scared? And you're like, yeah, sometimes. Like this year they have one of the mazes was called Patient Zero, and it was, dead exposure, Patient Zero, and its theme is probably like some kind of disease thing that went awry down in South America somewhere or something. And so all the patients are dead with their eyes bleeding, and there's like zombie people walking around, jumping out of places and scaring you. And they've got like these lights flashing and blood everywhere and tents, you're like, oh, this is, like Outbreak on steroids. And
my God.
And that place, when I was walking through there, I was like, this is creepy. This one is scary. I was like walking through it. We've done it like every night we do that. And I'm like, we got to do Patient Zero. We got to do that one. And the kids are like, okay. But that one scares me. Every time I walk through it, I'm scared. Last year, the scariest one was a scarecrow one. And they had so many pop outs.
Oh, no.
Like, you're just like, I told my friend, I took a friend there one time and I, she goes, I have a weak bladder. And I'm like, wear something, darling, because I was like, it's going to be intense if you don't. We're going to be changing clothes often. I was like,
oh my God, that's hilarious.
When she showed up, I had a big box of those poise or whatever they were as a joke, for her. She's like, very funny. Oh God, you're so mean. I'm like, well, I don't want to leave the park once I get there.
Yeah. You don't want to get out of line. I mean, you waited in line.
I know. And
okay, so you need a separate ticket for this event. So people who have a ticket or pass to get into the park for the day that there's a Halloween Horror Nights, they are going to have to leave unless they have this second ticket for the event, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so and then so even annual pass holders still have to get another ticket, right?
Yeah, we are annual pass holders, and they have it for everybody too. You just get a bigger discount when you're an annual pass holder, but they have single night tickets. So if you're only there for one night or, 1 or 2 nights, you can get that night. Or they have multi-night tickets, and the multi-night tickets come in a different array. I mean, you can get them for just Fridays and Saturdays.
Oh.
Just the first 3 weekends. They have different names. So and then some, you can even get one that covers every single night the entire time. And when you get those, you can also get an extension added on to them called the Express, which gives you an express line. They don't call it front of the line like they do in Hollywood. Yeah, because Hollywood, when you go there, because we go there usually too, when we get back to our
you guys are hardcore.
We are. We do it. Last year we did Universal Orlando, we did Universal Hollywood, and we did the Halloween Haunt at Knott's Berry Farm. And when you have to hit them all and see which one's the best. And a lot of times they have the same mazes, and you're like, oh, the one in Hollywood was a little bit better. And this year we're like looking at each other going, this one is much better. The Orlando one is much better than that one.
That's funny.
But yeah, but when you get those, you really should, if you're going on a Friday or Saturday, I would say it's almost a must to get the Express. Otherwise, you won't be able to experience because the lines are just too long. There's too many people to really have a lot of fun. But definitely always pay for the Express. Just put it out there and just say, if I'm going to go, bite the bullet.
So it's different from the Express Pass that you might get for just the regular park hours. It's separate Express Pass that you have to buy. And I was looking at this on the Universal website because I was wondering if you stay in one of their Express Pass hotels.
Nope.
You get an Express Pass, but yeah, that's not good for the Halloween nights either, right?
Nope. And you can get it when you get there. The very first time we went to Universal Hollywood. And when we got there, we were waiting in like a line, and I just couldn't even believe the length of the line. And I looked and I saw these people going through a separate entry. And I looked at the guy who worked there and I said, okay, how are those people doing that? And he said, oh, they have a front of the line pass. And I said, where do I get one? The guy goes, right over here, ma'am. And he took me in. I was like, I need 5 of those. 1, 2,
Here's
3,
my
4,
credit
5.
card.
Here's my card. Boom. And that was it. I was hooked. I mean, from that time on, because I cannot who can hold that into anticipation for 2 hours, 3 hours? You're going to get.
Yeah. And, especially, I mean, you're going every night, but for most people, they might only go once while they're on their trip. And so,
Exactly.
make the most, just throw money at it. I mean, I tell I've done a whole show here on the podcast about Express Pass and, recommending that if you want Express Pass, get a night in one of the hotels there so that you can have that unlimited Express Pass, because it is so valuable during the day. And then for an event like this, it sounds like it's really worth just biting the bullet and adding it into the budget and just getting it.
And that's what you just said there, that is the best advice I've ever heard, because most people will say, well, you can do this and this during the day. And you're like, yeah, not in the summertime. You can't, you're going to be waiting in long lines. But if you stay at the hotels there, and the hotels are wonderful, Universal hotels are amazing. And we've stayed there just, we get here sometimes early before our properties open up. And we've gone there, but our annual pass includes front of the line after 4 p.m. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah, if you get the premier annual pass, you get front of the line every day after 4.
Okay.
And so it's super awesome.
Yeah.
You work the system. You're like, I'm working the system, man.
Yeah. Hey, that's pretty much what anybody listening to this show that's heard more than one episode, they're going to tell you that's my whole thing. Like, how do you make it work? I even tell people to, even if they do a long-term, like a week-long rental or whatever somewhere, to actually take one night out of it, even though you've paid for a week at that rental, like take a night and stay in one of those Express Pass hotels, because you get 2 days worth of Express Passes for one night
done
stay.
that at Disney.
Yeah.
You want to hear something really sad? I have literally rented a campsite at the Disney Fort Wilderness for a couple of nights, just because I know it's only, I forget what it is, $40 or $50 a night. And I,
Oh my gosh. That is an incredible hack. Okay. So
I'm like, you know what? I got like 8 people in the tent there. And then we all get the Disney, the little Disney passes on it goes right on our, because Disney World we have a Magic Band. And so they just link it to your Magic Band, and everybody's got either a late night or an early entry, because Disney does one every single day. And so I'm like, look, this person's only going to be there that day. Let's just get a campsite, put a tent up, and then
that's amazing. That's a really good idea.
I know. I'm
oh my God. All right. So yeah. You are totally going to be a repeat guest on this show. I can already tell. Oh my God. Okay. So back to the Halloween Horror Nights. Okay. So you were telling me earlier that there's some other stuff that you can add on. So there's these different, so there's a lot of options for people. But actually, before we get to that, do you recommend that people buy their tickets ahead of time then? Because it sounds like this could sell out. Is that right?
And it has sold out, and the front of the line has sold out. Although I don't think they're putting a limit on the front of the line this year, because we've had some really long express lines so far. We were waiting well over 45 minutes for the Stranger Things the first night. Although on Sunday night, we walked right in. Like it was like it's night and day, just depending on when you go, which time of the evening you go. You should always try to be there early. If you're an annual pass holder, Universal is so amazing to their annual pass holders. They have 4 special nights for you that you'll get an invitation to, and you can choose one of the nights, and they let you in early at 4:30. They start letting you in, and they open up 3 houses specifically for just nothing but the annual pass holders.
Wow.
Now, yeah. So obviously you have to have the Halloween Horror Night ticket. It's not included in your annual pass, but if you're an annual pass holder, they let you in early, and then they let you go through the houses, and you'll get those 3 houses done. Boom, boom, boom. And then when everybody starts getting let in, you're already 3 houses ahead of everybody else. So,
that's really great. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to get an annual pass. That's another thing I'm going to do an episode about. But I hadn't even thought about perks like that. That's really great.
They do some really awesome stuff for us when you're annual pass holders. Yeah. I love the way they treat you. I mean, you get discounts on everything, all the restaurants, all the stores, even Starbucks. If you're a Starbucks fan, you get a discount using your annual pass at the Starbucks. And Disney doesn't do that. Universal, they love us.
Yeah, they're great. And the discounts on the hotels are worth it
amazing.
On their own. Yeah. So
they run specials all the time.
Yeah.
And you should be on their Facebook group too.
Yes, they have an awesome Facebook group.
I love the Facebook group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was
really
on there
great.
Earlier this year when I found out that they had Stranger Things coming, and I was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about this year's Halloween Horror Nights? And I had a picture of the girl's name is 11, and I went, 11!
Oh, that's awesome.
And everybody's like, this is great. I'm like, yeah, I can't wait. This is going to be awesome. I mean, I get so psyched before Halloween Horror Nights. I'm like, oh, this is going to be it.
Yeah, it's so exciting. It's a fun thing for the fall, because it's kind of like in between summertime and before all the holidays, ramp up. It's cool to have something so cool happening
Yeah.
in October. Okay, so so you're going to get you're going to have a ticket to go to the Halloween Horror Nights, and you got to get your express pass.
Definitely.
So what else can people do that's sort of a little extra, or maybe a big extra, to add on?
If you want to, you can do something called a lights on tour during the day. And what they do is they offer it in the morning and then the afternoon of certain days. And they let you go in. So this is while the regular theme park is running. So early in the morning, the Halloween Horror Nights has not opened yet. So no workers are there, but they'll take you through those mazes and the houses, and they choose which ones they take you through. And it's usually just 6, 3 in the morning. Then they give you a short lunch, and 3 in the afternoon. And I think they have it where we've always done all 6, but I think you can just buy the morning or just buy the afternoon if you want. So,
okay.
And it's, you know what? You're going to have to check the prices on that because I never look at prices. I just do it.
Yeah. I'll put links in the show. I'll put some links in the show notes for everybody so they can find all that.
I don't think it's too expensive, like $100. Yeah. And they do change, but it's really cool because you get to go and see, like, walk through these houses with the bright lights on, and you see the detail that they put in everything. There's, Seeds of Extinction is a house this year, and like you don't walk 2 feet without, all these leaves. And I mean, just like last year with the Bayou one, I mean, you just can't believe all the little things that they put in the houses. And then after you've been going like us for years and years, you can recognize different props from different houses from previous years. And you'll go,
funny.
You're like, oh, that's from, American Werewolf, and, oh, that's from The Walking Dead. You're just like, we spot these things. And they also put in little Easter eggs. So they, one year they had, well, actually a few years they've had these ravens. There's a raven in every house. And so you spot the raven. And sometimes it's really hard when lights are off and in the dark and the smoke. And you're like, where's the raven? I didn't see it. And, everybody's looking for it. But they have some really cool stuff. So going down the lights on tour, that kind of blends people in too. If you've got somebody in your family who, like my son had a girlfriend who was just, she's scared of everything. We're like, okay, let's take her on the lights on tour first so she can see it. Yeah. And, it kind of blended her in so that she wasn't as scared, because some people, it really does freak them out. I mean, they just, and I feel for those kind of people because I don't know what it's like, but
yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people just listening to your description of this stuff are going to be like having nightmares.
Oh my gosh. I mean, sometimes you're just like, okay, that's gory. But there's been times where they've done stuff where, like, literally, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you can cut this out if it's too graphic, but they had a house one time where this is so cool, but they do some messed up things, but it just depends. It just depends on where you're, and like I said, my son makes movies now, so it's all, we know it's not real.
Yeah, right. And those lights on tours sound like a really cool way to sort of keep your brain, knowing it's all make believe. It's probably even scary in the light when the light's on, though, isn't it?
The Evil Dead is a very scary movie, and they did that a couple years back. And walking through that during the lights on tour was creepy. I mean, it was really like you were just like, okay, I just want to leave right now. Can we just go now? Because it's just like you wanted to go, get some sage and burn some sage around yourself.
Yeah, I wonder what it's like to work in those haunted houses.
I know, right? I'm like, every night I would be burning sage and just cleansing my aura. Oh my gosh. Because it's freaky sometimes. You're like, okay, this is just freaky. I don't like those ones. Those ones kind of creep me out, but they're the most fun to go through. You're like, okay, I'm going to do it. Last year they had Exorcist too, and the Exorcist was creepy because they had the original soundtracks of all the voices and the sounds that she made, and you're just like, Oh my gosh. I remember when I was little, that was the scariest movie I ever saw. I don't think I've watched it since. And you're like, you walked in there and you're like, okay, I can't do that. I think I did that house once. And then I said, I'm not doing it again. Every night we went, usually I could go on every one. I was like, nope, did it once. I'm not doing it again. I'm not going in there. I'm not going in there. I'm not risking my soul. Like, for that.
You were talking about something that I hadn't even thought to ask, but what should you wear to this? Because it sounds like they're like you're gonna get some
you
fake
do
blood and whatever.
Well,
I know who knows
it's
what
water.
liquids.
Usually when they're squirting blood, it's so dark. Like it's just water. Usually,
okay,
that they're putting on you. That's not like even fake blood. It's just water. But you should. What's really weird is now that they're starting so early, they used to start more towards the end of September, like the last weekend of September, beginning of October. And it's hurricane season out here. It's like stormy, like, right? So almost every single opening weekend, it would rain, like it would pour down.
Okay.
So you're going to get wet. And then when you go into a lot of the houses, almost all the houses, very few of the houses are not air conditioned, because you got to think of the characters that are working in there. A lot of times they have a lot of makeup, a lot of costume stuff on. So they crank the AC. So you're outside, you get rained on, and you go in, and then it's AC, and you're like, so you always want, I don't care what it says, because even Saturday it rained, and or was it Sunday? I can't remember. But one of the days, we just always bring a poncho with us. Just carry a poncho. I know that most of the time you don't want to bring a bag into the amusement parks because you don't want to go through the bag searching thing, but guess what? They search everybody even without a bag. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you have a bag at Universal. You still have to go through that line. So bring a bag and bring little, something to cover yourself so you don't get wet when it starts to rain. In the houses, you'll get sprayed, but it's not going to be, like it's just water. It's not, it'll dry off real fast, but
okay.
But you'll be like, ew.
I have warned people that at Universal, there's really no ride that doesn't have water. I mean, when my daughter and I are there, we're always like, can you think of any rides with no water? That's it. Even the movie, it's going to have some kind of water in it. So I'm not surprised.
They love getting you wet.
They love that there.
They love it. I think it's just because they can get all the senses. There's a new one this year, a fairy tale one, and it's called Scary Tale. And that one, when you walk in, they have you walk into the Hansel and Gretel gone wrong, room. And there's a witch in there, but she's baking cookies. It smells so good in there. Like they're murdering people all around you, and you're like, wow, it smells so good in here right now. But they love to get all your senses. And if you've got a lot, like not a lot of money, but if you've got a lot of money and you've only got one night and you've got the extra money, definitely get the Rest in Peace tour. It's the RIP.
What's that?
Ooh, that is where they take a small group of people, like usually between 12 and 20 people, and they give you your own like person who works for Universal, your own host, and they have like this thing, and you get to go literally in the front of the line of every single maze. Like they stop the line and you walk right in with them. And then your express pass is only good for one front use once per night. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So like if there are 10 mazes, you basically, if you go in Stranger Things once, you can't go and use your front of the line again that night. So when you get the Rest in Peace, that includes a front of the line for everything all night long. So once you tour, you have to go with them, and they let you go through everything once, and it's easy because there's no lines for you. You're just walking with this guide. But once you're done, you can do that all the rest of the night too. And
wow.
Where they'll say Rest in Peace entrance here, and you just flash your little your little, I've got a bunch of those because we've done that a few times. So I'm like, I save everything. I save lanyards from all the different years. And I'm like, oh, which one do you want to use? And I'm like, oh, this one's from 2003. You want this one? And the kid,
Oh, that's really fun.
I know it's fun, but the kids always, they're laughing. They go, why do you save those things? I go, these are my favorite things, man. I love Halloween Horror Nights. It's my favorite.
Yeah, so
Totally
that's another thing. Is there special merchandise and food, and do they do extra stuff like that?
Absolutely. They have a ton of merchandise. They even have a special merchandise store. So right as you walk, like when you walk right in the park, I know you did that virtual tour, right? Mm-hmm. So when you walk in, if you go straight down and walk past Jimmy Fallon, and then you start to take the right, like you're going to head towards the Mummy ride through the Main Street part. On the left-hand side in that corner, there's a store specifically for Halloween Horror Nights. Now, obviously, it's in every other part. Every other store will have, during Halloween Horror Nights, they'll have the shirts and the mugs and like all kinds of stuff. They've got tons of merchandise, and usually they have a shirt from pretty much every house that's licensed. So there's a lot of Eggo shirts this year, because if you're a Stranger Things fan, she liked to eat Eggos.
That's funny.
Everybody's wearing Eggo shirts. Like, what the heck? There's so many Eggo shirts. Oh, Eggos. Yeah. But they've got like the jackets and all kinds of things. But if you go into that specific store, they have mannequins and people dressed up like that you could get your pictures taken with,
neat.
Yeah. So it's a little cooler, and, everybody's in there getting their pictures taken with different things. Like last year they had a bunch of the heads from the Exorcist in there, and it was just freaky from the girl. Like, I don't know, it's like Linda Blair's young child head all possessed.
Oh my God.
I'm not even kidding. It was so gross. But at the same time, it was like, ew. Oh, let's get our picture taken. It's like, you don't have to look at it when you get your picture taken. It's behind you. But
That's
then that
true.
creeps you out too sometimes. You're like, did that thing just move? I swear it moved. I swear it did.
So do they have special food and drinks and stuff too?
Yep, there's booths open up, so it's kind of like a little carnival setting too. They open up these, they open up these cool little tents everywhere, and they'll have specialty drinks and liquor. Now there's a lot, so if people don't drink, they might be, Universal allows people to drink there. So there's. They used to have girls walking around with shots at the end of every ride.
They did?
Yeah, they would always dress them up as nurses, and they had them in these bags that looked like blood bags. And they were red shots that people could take the hose. I swear, it's so fun. It was like people would be holding the bag up really up high, and then the drink would go through this tube into your mouth. And they did that for many, many years. But this year they haven't had those girls out. I think they were just having, the more people drink, I
could see why they would stop that.
Yeah, they're this is the first year out of all these years they've been doing it. People are just getting more and more, where they just don't restrain themselves enough. Their filter's gone, and you're just like, you got to you're like, okay, I like to have fun, but you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that guy. You're like, so I always recommend
stay away from the nurses. Yeah.
Stay away from the nurses.
Yeah, I know Universal, especially on the weekends, there's lots of beer flowing and whatever, but I also recommend people, if you're going on any ride with any kind of motion in it, you really you shouldn't be drinking first.
No. Yeah, that happens a lot, and you know what I'm talking about. That you're like, that smell is not from the maze.
Yeah.
You're like, please, for the rest of us, because
exactly.
Like, okay, thanks. I don't need that. Yeah, but you'll see that in that what was it, the Scary Tales one? They have Humpty Dumpty. I really didn't think you would take it that far, but you did.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Like, this is actually really useful, I think, for a lot of people, because either they're loving what you're saying, or they're just like, oh no, this is not for me. And both
Yeah.
cases is good because it's much better to have that idea before you decide and buy the ticket, you know? So,
Oh, definitely. Because that's a lot of money to spend if it's not something for you.
Yeah. And obviously, I would say, yeah, it's not for little kids. It would be an extraordinary kid that could take that, I would think.
I think that's it. I've seen little kids go through in there and they're fine. They're absolutely fine. I think parents usually know, but if you've got a child who's anywhere on the cusp, do not take them.
Yeah.
Because it can be very frightening. Honestly, even all the times that I go through, sometimes you forget that it's not real. You know, It takes you that second when you're in it and the music and it's super loud and the lights are flashing and like, it's like you totally do. You get immersed in it. And that's when it becomes the most fun to somebody like me because you forget where you are and you can get scared and you're like, whew. And then you walk out and you're like, oh, that was good, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that is the reason why something like a roller coaster or really almost any of the attractions you're going to see at Universal are so like almost therapeutic because it totally puts you in the moment. You can't be doing anything else, thinking about anything else. And if you're like the average person, you're always got so much on your mind and multitasking and everything. And having that time where you're just in the moment, it's pretty special, even if it takes some crazy, scary experience to get you there.
That's it. It really does take there. You can't be doing two things at one time there. You really can't. You're in it. You're like, okay. And they don't let you film when you go through there too. So make sure you put your phones away. They will take your phone.
Yeah,
so,
that's really good. I'm glad they do that. But I would think it would be really hard to be even having your phone out when you're going through that. I mean, there's so much to see and it would ruin it. You'd just be looking through your phone.
You miss too much. Yeah. They have some people, like obviously if you're a YouTuber, you can go on YouTube and you can find some of the people that they let through every year with their cameras so that you can see what each house is like. You'll look at those videos and you'll say, okay, I can tell what this is and this is, but really there's nothing like experiencing it. So you really want to just allow yourself to have that fun and really get immersed in that. And just, just go in there and just have a blast. And like I said, they've got the specialty drinks, with all the different names, and so they have foods that they have for each of them set up, So, and if you don't get to go very often, what's really cool when you get the express is you can have an express line on some of the rides that you like. So I love Transformers. I don't know why I love that one so much.
I do too. And I have no idea. I've been on it a bunch of times. I have no idea what's going on in it. Like, I don't know any reference to the Transformers movies. It's not, I have a daughter. It's not a thing. But we love that ride. And we always get off and we're like, have you figured it out yet? And it's so fun.
You had to say the Allspark. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, it's the Allspark. Exactly. It's all about that.
But when you're on that ride, like, do you not, like, even for a moment, there's this moment where you are in it. Like, you are a part of it. And I love how Universal does that for you. They take you in it and they wrap their arms around you and they're like, you're going to have this experience. And you do when you really allow yourself to live it. That's when you have the most fun. You're just like, it's all about having fun. It really is.
Absolutely. And this sounds like a really cool event for people, especially sounds like if you're a horror movie fan, then this is for you for sure. But even if you don't, I like that they have kind of a combination of movies that, you might have seen or you might not have, but then also original stuff. So you don't have to know all the references.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
They have Poltergeist this year. It's the Poltergeist from the original movie. And what's really funny is my son is younger, so he's only seen the second, the second Poltergeist. And when we walked in, it was in a soundstage. And when we walked in, he goes, "What is this?" And I said, oh my God, we are in the pool. And he goes, what? And I said, we're in the pool, where the bodies are popping up. And she fell in the water and she couldn't get out. And I go, we're starting in the pool. And he looks around and he goes, how do you get that? And I'm like, how do you not? I was like, and then all of a sudden you start going through the maze and you're like in this mud with the coffins are popping out at you and the dead bodies are popping. And I was like, it's so fun, but literally it was fun for him too. And he didn't know any of that movie. So
that's
he
great.
loved that. So there's a lot, what's really fun for me is I think every year when I go, although I love the old movies, I love Poltergeist, I love those movies and stuff, but I think a lot of the original houses are some of my favorite houses. Like I said, Patient Zero this year was that scary, scary one for me. But, when I was walking, and Scary Tales was fun to smell the cooking with the witch. But I don't know why that
is so crazy.
But the Seeds of Extinction one, I think, the kids said, what one is your favorite this year? And I said, Seeds of Extinction. It was one of their original ones, and they had, they just did so much work with it. Like walking through and it's supposed to take place in Arizona, which was really funny because we're like, nothing grows in Arizona. How the heck? So obviously something very wrong has happened. We're like, because everything is growing, but they have all these plants that are coming out to eat you, everywhere. And
so just like at home for you, huh?
Yeah. Just like it. So we're walking through that, but you could just see the work that they do and the details that go in it. And I appreciate so much the work and that these people had put a ton of thought into each one of these houses. And you're like, I love this, like this, this is funny. They have one called Slaughter Cinema, and it's a bunch of B flicks, and that's out at one of the tents. And so they take you out there and they have all these tiny little short clips of a movie as if you're going to a drive-in and and so they're all B ones. So they're so stupid. Like the scary movie is so stupid. So there's 8 scary movies within it.
Yeah, right.
And it's like barbershop, murderer guy, and he's got scissors going through the side of somebody's head, and then you walk in and it's, he's gone crazy because his wife was mean to him, and it's just silly, stupid, Amazon, women gone crazy, and it's demon baby, and they have a baby with these red eyes and all these. It's just
that's awesome.
Just really stupid stuff, but at the same time, it's like, okay. They made these little clips like it was really clips from a movie for each one of those, and they're hilarious. Like as you're watching it, you're like, oh my gosh, this could totally be a really stupid, scary movie that I would enjoy. But those things are so fun when you're going through the mazes. You'll get at the end of the maze, and for the next 20 minutes after, you're going through everything with the people that you went through. What was your favorite part? Oh, and it is such a bonding experience for families. Like my kids still come back, even in their 30s, are coming back to go with me to these things because, and my son said something, I said, oh, you probably want to go with your brother. And he goes, no, Mom, I want to go with you. And I was like, oh,
yay. That's awesome.
Goes, I'd rather go with you through because we analyzed every little bit of it and sit there and talk. And I think it's that's one of your favorite things when you get through it. You're just like, it's not just the fact that you love this stuff. It's the fact that you get to really bond with the people that you're with. There's nothing that bonds you more than being scared together.
That's so true. I heard that somewhere. Where was that? A friend of mine was, I think it was my friends on their One Little Spark podcast were talking about that if you're, these are a couple of guys and they're talking about dating, when they were younger and bringing the girl to Disneyland on some ride that might be a little scary because there's science to it that if you've been scared together, you're going to be closer.
See, I believe that. I met my husband at an amusement park.
There you go. See?
We met at Great America when we were 16. And
wow.
How crazy is that? So maybe there is something to that.
Yeah, see?
But he was the one afraid. Like, he screamed all the way through this one ride. Like, he just screamed through the whole thing. And I was like, I got to marry this guy.
Oh.
He's just awesome. He's scared of everything. I was like, okay.
So he can handle these Halloween Horror Nights, okay?
You know, he does get really scared. And that's actually the most fun part for me is watching how scared he gets sometimes. Because it takes a lot more to scare me. Like, there are times they get you and you're just like, oh, you got me. And it's fun, right?
Right.
But him, everything gets him, and it just cracks me up. I have so much fun watching him get scared.
That's funny.
And you can think of, that's for being one day late with my birthday call. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. It's all paybacks the whole time.
It's all payback. It's like, now we are even.
Nice. Okay. So, boy, I think we've covered a ton. This is super helpful, Michelle. Thank you for sharing all of it. It's really great. Any other kind of pro tips that we haven't already talked about that you would suggest to newbies here?
I would rather get there earlier in the year than later. The closer you get to Halloween, the busier the park gets. So,
okay.
And although this year, because of Stranger Things, it was super busy on opening night, but like I said, Sunday, this past Sunday was the first weekend Sunday. Mm-hmm. It was hardly anybody there. The lines were so short, but I guarantee you this Sunday will be a little bit busier. So as you go, it's going to get busier and busier, but then get this. If you wait, and now this will be the first year that Orlando has done this, but we've done it in Hollywood. Hollywood does the last weekend after Halloween. So if Halloween was the 30th, they might do the 2nd or whatever of November.
Okay.
They did. Yeah. So we've gone on those nights. There's no one there. I mean, they're amazing.
Great.
And when you have a front of the line for those things, you're going in over and over again because their front of the line is a little bit different. But always watch that too, because everything changes. So don't always expect things to be like it was last year. Okay. Because they have a habit, even during the year, they change one weekend to the next. They'll change something. So don't be one of those people that go, well, this is how you did it, and don't expect too much out of these, guys. And you've got to remember too, there's so many people who go in there and give the people who work there, the cast members, well, I call them cast members because of Disney, but the people who work there, they give them such hard times. You should see how many people are there's so many haters out there now and people who just complain. And I'm like, look, it's all about having fun. Just go in there and have fun and try to make your time fun and try to make the people who work there, just let them know how much you appreciate what they do, because I don't think they have enough people who do that.
Totally. That's so important. I
think it's really important.
Yeah. They're spending their time. They're not making a lot of money doing that job.
No.
It's not an easy job. And they are making your memories for you that you're always going to remember. I mean, that's huge.
Exactly. And it's so sad when I'm seeing people reaming on them and I walk up to them and I say, I appreciate what you do. I always tell the girls in the bathrooms who are cleaning the bathrooms.
Me too.
Yes. Isn't that important? Because you're like, I love going into a clean bathroom. And you know how women's bathrooms can be disgusting. Yes. When you go into Universal, their bathrooms are always amazing. And if I see the attendant, which you almost always see an attendant in there, I always say, thank you so much for having nice, clean bathrooms for me. I love this. So I appreciate what you do. And I think that's always important to tell people you appreciate them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, the last episode I did, or a couple episodes ago now, was about etiquette in the parks. And that's kind of the top tip, was being nice.
Be nice.
Just be nice, because it just makes it better for everyone.
Yep. Just, just be loose and be free. Just be one of those free-willing people, like things, whatever, man. It's all okay. It's all okay.
Yeah, you're going to have a great time, and and bring the poise pads if you need them.
Yes, exactly. If you do have a weak bladder, definitely bring those. I don't know what we can do for men. We got to get those diapers for them.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'll put some Amazon links in the show notes for everybody.
Exactly. Those would be a good joke. Like if you're listening and you want to get that for your mom for a joke, that would be funny. Because I would have laughed the first time that somebody did it for me. When I did it for my friend, it cracked me up.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And the funniest part was she used them. She really did. She did. She put one in and she was like, all right, I'm doing this.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if she used it, but she definitely put it on.
She's now been outed on a podcast, but no one knows who she is. So
exactly. I did not use her name.
All right. Well, thank you so much for helping me to get this information out. This is super exciting. And it's been so much fun talking to you and spending this time doing this. So thank you. Can you tell everybody how they, where they can find you and tell them about your podcast and stuff?
Sure. I have a podcast. It's called the Short-Term Rental Revenue Podcast, and you can find it on iTunes. I'm also on Facebook. You can find me on there. It's Michelle Russell, and I also have Short-Term Rental Revenue on Facebook too. So just look for me if you want to learn how to do short-term rentals. But what you really should do is listen to this podcast so you can know all the secrets of having fun in the parks, because the reason I work is so I can always go and have fun, so I can have annual passes to all the places in Orlando and just have a blast.
Well, that is an excellent reason. All right, great. Well, thanks, Michelle. This has been awesome, and I hope we can have you back on the show again.
Yes, I would love it.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Okay, you guys, what do you think of that? I hope that was fun and not too scary for you. But I also hope that it helped you decide if Halloween Horror Nights is for you. I know some of you guys are probably like, oh my gosh, that sounds super scary. No thanks, which actually is really good because you wouldn't want to buy a ticket and get there and then find that out. But I also know that some of you just listen to that and you want more and you want to be there. And that is awesome. You probably noticed throughout the episode, there was a couple parts where I sort of faded it out. And that is the stories that I edited out because I thought they were too gory, but they are available to you over on the Patreon site for pass holders at the $5 and up level. So you can find that bonus deleted tracks episode over at patreon.com/goinformed. Hey, everybody, this is Maven from the future. I just wanted to let you know that you can actually hear that bonus episode as episode 55 of the Go Inform podcast, wherever you are listening to this right now. So just leap into the future to episode 55 if you want to hear those gory outtakes that I took out of this episode. And thanks, you guys, for joining me on this episode. Huge thanks to Michelle for being part of the show. We just had a ton of fun together, and I'm really glad I could bring this to you guys. Show notes for this episode are over on the website at goinform.net/37. So please feel free to refer to that for more details about what we talked about and to find out where you can find Michelle. I hope you guys have a great Halloween season, and I hope this has helped you plan for your fall at Universal Orlando. And I also hope you have an astonishing vacation.